What's up, Cinephile? So I just finished watching probably the best historical legal drama that I've seen in my entire life. So good that I have to see it twice before doing this review. The movie is called The Trial of the Chicago 7, directed and written by Aaron Sorkin. But before I begin, if you are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. We do weekly reviews of movies, TV shows, and video games. Okay, let's begin. What is this trial all about? I am not well versed on the American history, but if you remember back in the 1960s, the Americans and the Vietnamese are at war, so a lot of young Americans are being sent to Vietnam to slaughter and be slaughtered. So that's where the protests are coming from. We have a lot of different groups all converging in this 1968 Democratic National Convention in Chicago, where a lot of violent clashes have ensued with the police. Hundreds were arrested, hundreds were clubbed, and the state has singled out 7 figureheads who are responsible for conspiracy. The first 2 are leaders of the Students for a Democratic Society. We have Tom Hayden and Rennie Davis. These are played by Eddie Redmayne and Alex Sharp. Now these 2 are idealists, clean-cut diplomatic boys. I very much relate to them out of all the characters here. And the character played by Eddie Redmayne is very fascinating because he seems to be really diplomatic, but at the core he's really all about the counterculture, and he's very vocal in showing his disdain for the government, but he works it in mischievous ways. This movie is an ensemble act, but if there's going to be a central character that will hold it together, it's going to be Eddie Redmayne, and his performance is very compelling, very fascinating. And then we have Abby Hoffman and Jerry Rubin, the leaders of the Youth International Party, or the Yippies, entertainingly portrayed by Sacha Baron Cohen and Jeremy Strong. Now these 2, if you find them in the modern day and age, I would liken them to netizen trolls and netizen memesters who fight through memes, through humor. Maybe not the most efficient way to call out the shortcomings of the government, but nonetheless they stir the emotions of the nation. This duo is really effective in making this courtroom drama far from a dour affair. They sport this big 60s hair and this thick accent. Sacha Baron Cohen here has a really nice arc. Once you get into the end, you will realize that this character is smarter than what he seems to be. And then Jeremy Strong is very far from the character that I have seen him play in the Emmy award-winning show Succession. In here, he's somewhat of a sad sack loser, and he's one of the entertaining parts of this movie. And there's David Dellinger. He's the leader of the National Mobilization Committee to End the War in Vietnam, played by Carroll Lynch. He's a family man. He's a middle-aged suburban pacifist, and I think with his character arc, it's a testament that even the most patient people, most understanding people have their limits too. And then there's 2 lesser-known activists and academics, John Freund and Lee Weiner, played by Daniel Flaherty and Noah Robbins. Now they don't really have much to do in this movie aside from being occasional comic reliefs, but the movie will make a point why they are needed to be there. And there's one line that's mentioned by Noah Robbins in the earlier part of the movie that really cracked me up. He mentioned how this whole trial is like the Academy Award of protest, and they're just glad to be there. And I think that's a playful part for Aaron Sorkin because this movie is being tagged as an Oscar bait, so he's very self-aware of what this movie represents. But you know, telling you what, this movie is very deserving, and I will get into that more later. So apart from that 7 defendants, there's actually an 8th defendant. The name is Bobby Seale. He's a chairman for the Black Panther Party. He's played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. He had nothing to do with the protests. In fact, he has been in Chicago for 4 hours to deliver a speech, but he was thrown there to scare the jury. And that's on top of being wrongfully charged for murder. I will get more into his character later, and the defense counsel for this 7, excluding Bobby Seale, would have to be William Constler and Leonard Weinglass, played by Mark Rylance and Ben Schenkman. Those 2 really tried their best to find any semblance of justice for their clients because, as the movie mentions, this is somewhat of a sham trial, a political trial. But I have to say that Mark Rylance is so damn good here. He delivers this dry mockery, and what an understated performance indeed, that he really holds, in many ways, he really holds the movie together. And then Richard Schultz acts as the federal prosecutor in behalf of the state. He's played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Another compelling performance. He has this personal code of honor, and you get the impression that this character is being tasked to do something that he doesn't want to do. He believes that these 7 are not worthy of any indictment and they don't really pose threat to the state. There will be a lot of conflicting morals for this character, but I have to say that even if this character is on the de facto opponent side, you will going to like this character. So there you go, those are the main characters that we have in this movie. I think I skipped some of them. It's just that the opening sequence is a whirlwind of introduction of these characters. We see them prepping for the rallies that they're about to do, and admittedly this movie is hard to follow at first because there's a lot of names, but you know, give this movie a chance because eventually you'll figure out who's who. This is a compelling courtroom drama about battling systemic corruption, and to see all this crazy talented cast being on the same room fighting for what they think is right, regardless if they're actually right or wrong, is a majestic sight to see. Each of the characters is given a moment to shine, and Aaron Sorkin really knows how to bring this courtroom drama far from a dour affair. Even Michael Keaton here has a minor role here towards the end. He steals that scene in his key pivotal role as Attorney General Ramsey Clark. You don't want to miss that. But I guess I have to talk more about the screenplay. Aaron Sorkin, no surprise there. He has won previous Oscars before, but I think this is one of his strongest yet today. This one is very timely. It's fast-paced, it's snappy, it's engaging, it's thought-provoking. It's everything that you want your screenplay to be for this courtroom drama. He has this brand of sharp writing about politics, media, counterculture that never goes out of style. If you get to see A Few Good Men, one of his Oscar-winning screenplays, that's another courtroom drama. In here, he comes back with Molotov cocktails in the metaphorical and literal sense as he really lit the courtroom on fire. It's gripping, it's illuminating, and most importantly, Aaron Sorkin knows what to focus best, and that's story and character. To see this clash of ideals, it's like I'm having an intellectual orgasms. Words are being fired like missiles. There's so much arguments against fascism, and sometimes the verbosity of this writer can wear you down, but you know, if this is the type of your subject material, the relevance that you're looking for, you will really be compelled every step of the way. And also the thing that I love about this movie is that it parallels the political unrest that we have. I know in this pandemic season, a lot are dissatisfied with their governments, a lot are seeking to overthrow them, and to see how embarrassing moments are played out in history, to see justice being not served in the same way that it's happening up to now, it's something really alarming, because this movie really captures the mood of not only America but the entire world right now. And it also makes a point that protests are not necessarily a bad thing, that counterculture is not really unproductive as what other things, especially those who are in power. But the movie is never biased because it also points out the negative sides of this protest. With this fervent passion that we have, sometimes it can lead to violence, a lot of lapses in judges. The movie does not shy away in telling that. I guess I also have to touch the notorious judge Julius Hoffman, played by Frank Langella. He really got into my nerves. I guess that's a testament how really Langella did so well in this role. He represents all these high-ranking officials who have bottomless depths of self-righteousness, and there's a horrifying moment of racial injustice that happened here. I have to fact check if that really happened, and in my research, this really happened more than once actually throughout the trial. And Yahya Abdul-Mateen in his performance really captured the humanity of what it feels like to be stripped away of your rights. And Frank Langella, I can't stress enough how I despise the character he plays. He keeps charging the defendants and their lead attorneys with contempt against court, where in fact he is the one who has contempt against them ever since the beginning. And once again, props to the screenplay, because this is a really difficult subject matter to bring into life, considering that this trial have surpassed months, and you have tons of confessions, tons of testimonials to include in the screenplay. I think Aaron Sorkin really did well job in presenting it concisely. Then the editing is also worthy of commendations. We get a lot of flashbacks, all the riots, all the uprisings, all the talks on the bars. These are interpolated along with the real-life footages on the courtroom drama. The movie really makes a point that it knows how to build suspense, and pair that with the rousing musical score from Daniel Pemberton. Sometimes it feels like you're watching an action movie. It really fits. This movie really lit a fire up on my butt. I was really moved by this movie so much that it works as a cautionary tale. Like, look at this movie as a warning shot from the past. Like, if you are not weary and vigilant enough, to fight for your civil rights, history is bound to repeat. And sometimes fighting for those rights, even if they fall on deaf ears, they are still worth fighting for. This movie works as a reminder to fight against oppressions, to uphold our fragile democracy, and I hope a lot of us see this movie, especially those who are in power, who think they are above the law. This is very much fitted for them. This is one of the angriest films that I've seen. It wears its heart and its humanism in its sleeves, but at the same time, it doesn't feel too spiteful because it also knows how to have fun with its bleakness and dry humor, and also that ending. There's a sense of optimism, something that we'll get in Spielberg's drama movies, which works as a counterintuitive to the anger that this movie has brought. So I think this is a movie that everyone should see, and this is a movie that we need right now. And with all those things said, I'm going to give this movie a solid 5 out of 5. I'm telling you, this movie is very ripe for Oscars, not just because it's being an Oscar bait, and honestly these days I felt like that word is being misused. To attach that word into this masterpiece feels like this movie is undeserving, like this movie is pretentious, when it's not. It's really deserving with a lot of nominations, and I'm calling it, Best Picture nomination, Best Direction, and Best Screenplay for Aaron Sorkin, Best Editing, Best Cinematography, and then acting nominations. Everyone in this crazy talented cast has a lot to offer, but if I have to point out the standouts, just because it's so populated, maybe Eddie Redmayne, Sacha Cohen, Yahya Abdul-Mateen, Frank Langella, and Mark Rylance. Those names, but everyone in this film has done a great job, and it's really entertaining that I felt compelled to see it twice. So I hope you guys believe in me and give this movie a chance. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to Screen Kings for weekly reviews of movies, TV shows, and video games. Let us know what you think in the comment sections down below. Until then, see you on the next one.